It was supposed to be the happiest day for everyone, the day my son finally married the woman he had loved for years. The wedding was grand, filled with laughter, flowers, and music. Guests mingled, taking pictures and congratulating the couple. I stood near the entrance, smiling through tears as I watched my only son take vows that would bind him to his new life. As a mother, it was a proud moment. I had raised him alone after his father's passing, and seeing him as a groom filled my heart with emotion. I thought the day would be perfect, but what unfolded shattered that image and left every guest speechless. From the beginning, I had noticed that my son's bride, Clara, seemed uneasy around me. Though she had always been polite, there was a certain coldness in her tone whenever she addressed me. I tried not to mind it. After all, new brides sometimes feel tense or unsure about their new family. I told myself it would change after the wedding once she got to know me better, but on that day, her discomfort turned into something far more shocking. During the reception, I walked up to the couple holding a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet, a family heirloom that had belonged to my mother. I had saved it to give to my son's wife as a welcoming gift, a gesture to show her that she was now part of our family. As I approached her, she looked at me with a forced smile. I extended the box toward her, saying softly that it was a gift from my heart. But before I could finish my sentence, she suddenly slapped me across the face. The sound of it echoed in the hall. For a moment, time froze. Everyone turned toward us in disbelief. The music stopped. My cheek burned, not just from the physical pain, but from the humiliation that flooded over me. I stood there, speechless, unable to comprehend what had just happened. My son, who had been talking to his friends a few feet away, rushed over immediately. His eyes widened when he saw me clutching my face and Clara standing rigid, her hand trembling slightly. He asked her why she did that, his voice sharp but calm. Clara's face turned pale as every pair of eyes in the hall focused on her. She began stammering, saying she thought I was trying to embarrass her in front of everyone. She claimed she believed the box contained something meant to mock her because of her modest background. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. I had never looked down on her. In fact, I had admired her simplicity and thought she would bring warmth to our family. My son looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then he took the box from my hand, opened it, and showed the bracelet to her and to everyone watching. He said, "This belonged to my grandmother. My mother has saved it for the woman who would become my wife. And you slapped her for giving it to you." The hall went completely silent. Clara's face turned as white as the flowers on her gown. Tears filled her eyes as she tried to explain again, but the damage was done. My son gently helped me to a seat and handed me a glass of water. He turned to the crowd and apologized for the scene. Then he faced his bride. His voice was calm but firm. He said that respect was the foundation of every relationship, and that he couldn't ignore what she had done not just to me, but to herself, by letting suspicion and pride control her actions. He said he still loved her, but he needed her to understand the weight of what she had done before they could continue with the celebration. Clara broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. She fell to her knees in front of me, begging for forgiveness. I could see that her regret was genuine. I told her to stand up and that it wasn't a day for tears. I forgave her, not because I had to, but because holding on to anger would only ruin what was meant to be a new beginning for all of us. But forgiveness didn't erase the memory of that moment. The rest of the ceremony continued, but there was a strange stillness in the air. The guests whispered among themselves, and even the laughter felt forced. Later, after most of the guests had left, my son came to my room. He sat beside me quietly for a while before speaking. He told me he couldn't understand why Clara reacted that way, but he suspected it came from deep insecurity. He said Clara had always been worried that I wouldn't accept her because she came from a poorer family. She had been under a lot of stress preparing for the wedding and felt constantly judged by others. Her mind had twisted a kind gesture into an insult because she couldn't see beyond her fears. I listened, my heart heavy. I understood that people's actions often come from pain they don't know how to express. I told him that if he truly loved her, he needed to help her heal that insecurity, not punish her for it. I also told him that marriage would test him in ways he couldn't yet imagine. It was easy to love someone when everything went right, but true love showed itself when things went wrong. He nodded, holding my hand, promising that he would handle it with patience and understanding. The next morning, Clara came to me again. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and her voice trembled as she apologized once more. She told me she hadn't slept all night and that she was ashamed of what she had done. She explained that when she saw me approaching with the box, her cousin had whispered that maybe I was going to test her in public. That thought grew in her mind until she lost control. She said she had always wanted to impress me but felt like she kept failing. I looked at her and saw a scared young woman rather than an enemy. I told her that respect cannot exist without trust and that she had to start believing that people loved her for who she was, not for what she lacked. From that day, things changed slowly. Clara began to visit me often, helping around the house, cooking meals, and asking me to teach her old family recipes. She listened when I spoke about my late husband, and over time, she started calling me Mom. I saw in her a desire to make things right, and I respected that. My son kept his word. He stood by her, guided her, and built a life based on patience and forgiveness. The bond between us three grew stronger than ever, and that slap, once a symbol of humiliation, became a lesson we never forgot. Sometimes life teaches us in painful ways. That day at the wedding, I learned that misunderstandings can destroy even the purest moments, but they can also build bridges if handled with grace. My son's calm reaction, his choice to protect both his mother's dignity and his wife's heart, was what truly turned that disastrous moment into something meaningful. He didn't explode in anger or shame her in front of others. Instead, he let truth and compassion speak louder than pride. Years later, when I watch the two of them together, I feel grateful that he reacted the way he did. Clara still blushes when someone mentions the incident, but she laughs about it now. She says that day taught her more about humility and love than anything else in her life. And I, too, learned that forgiveness can transform even the deepest wound into strength. A wedding that began with shock and shame ended with understanding and growth. It reminded everyone present that family is not built on perfection, but on the courage to admit mistakes and the will to make amends. My son's reaction didn't just make his bride's face pale, it made her see the reflection of her own actions and the importance of respect and love. That single moment of grace defined the kind of man he had become, and it reminded me that I had raised not just a good son, but a wise and compassionate husband. Now, whenever I look at that old gold bracelet on Clara's wrist, I no longer see the memory of that slap. I see a bridge between two hearts, a reminder that even the most painful moments can become the foundation of something beautiful if met with understanding instead of anger.